What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Not a Sheep podcast. My name is Narwhal. I'm here with my buddy Matt.
What's up, guys?
Matt's got his own merch on.
Yeah, I thought I'd wear a shirt with my face on it, just, be that guy.
Yeah, no, you got to rep it, especially if it's a new single, which it is. Crazy. Available on every platform.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of your music, you're going for the second round of the Futuristic Challenge.
Yep, we're back again.
So for those of you who don't know, if you're new around here, maybe this is your first time listening, a couple weeks ago, you did a challenge for Futuristic, basically hosted this rap challenge.
Yeah.
You got top 10, but you didn't win.
But I think it was super cool to get top 10. But that being said, he's doing another challenge right now for a different song with Crypt. And same thing, if you win the contest, you get on the new album coming out. And in my mind, I saw it as like, let's do this again. If anything, there's going to be less competition because I don't think the guy that won it is going to be able to enter it again.
Yeah, but don't you think all the other guys will probably try and do it again?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And there might even be more people because maybe people found out about that challenge when it was too late.
And they didn't enter in time. True.
But yeah, so...
Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
So are you confident? How do you feel about your second verse now for this other challenge?
Well, to be honest, like I was telling you earlier, I didn't really like my first verse all that much. Like I thought it was cool and it like sounded cool, but there was a lot of like, to be honest, like nonsense lyrics in there that were just kind of filler. But I feel like really confident with my verse for this one, like a lot more than the other one. We haven't done the video yet, but I'm sure that'll still turn out really cool. But
yeah. So do you feel like when you create a meaningful song or a verse or something, is it more meaningful to you, or do you just feel better about it if there's less filler?
Well, yeah. So with this one, like, because it's like a futuristic challenge, like part of me is like, okay, I got to make sure I'm really showing out, like when it comes to like flow and like doing something crazy with like the speed of how I'm rapping. But
yeah, it's
really easy if you're focused on that to just end up saying a bunch of nonsense words, because a lot of words that are easier to say fast, it's hard to make them into like a story and make sense.
Yeah.
And this is one of the first times I felt like I really delivered with like the flows and actually having bars that were interesting. And I think I wrote my personal like favorite all-time lyric of all time.
Whoa,
But
do you want to say it on the
see.
show, or do you want people to wait to go like listen to it on Instagram or something?
I'd say wait until it's on Instagram.
Okay.
It'll probably... This is going to come out on Monday. That'll probably be around the time it comes out.
Yeah, the video might be up like a day or two from now.
Yeah, we'll see.
So yeah, just follow
Be
Matt
on the
on
lookout.
Instagram.
Yeah. It's not a very long verse, so like, I don't know. You'll find it.
Yeah. When you're going for one of these challenges, which I think it's cool, there's a lot of these nowadays. But
yeah.
So it's a futuristic challenge. So obviously it's for a futuristic song, and you've heard the actual song, so you know the vibe of like the two verses that they've already made.
Yeah.
Do you try and go into it to say like, all right, I want to create something that's going to like maybe stand out or be different to catch his attention? Or do you think I got to try and create something that's going to kind of complement what they've already done and like fit their flow that they've done already?
Yeah. So I feel like there's a couple different ways you can look at it. And in my mind, the first thing that like I thought of was there's this like King Los quote where he was talking about when he does features, or whenever he raps, he doesn't want to hear anyone else do anything on that beat because he wants to make sure all of his ideas are just natural and they're not like copying something else, or like, because it's really easy if you're doing a remix to like go back to the original, and like there's ways you can do it where you can like quote them and make it make sense on the song. But if you want to be completely original and have new ideas, I think it's smart to just kind of go in and do it. So I only listened to the song once, like on purpose, just to get a vibe of what they're talking about and like I guess their tone. But
yeah.
I guess how I look at it is it's not who can stand out the most, it's honestly more like who can complement the song, because they're going to be on the album.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Futuristic wants the song to be the best it can be.
So I look at it like I'm getting an opportunity to do a feature on a futuristic song. And so if I get that platform, like I'm going to really do my best to deliver and stand out, so that not just so that like if I get that platform, people will know who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there could be someone that does something, you could do something super unique where it's totally different flow, and it might catch people's attention like, wow, this is interesting because this is way different than what Futuristic did. But at the same time, there's probably a fine line, because if it's too different, then it's like feels like it's a totally different song.
There was that girl in the last contest that did the screamo version, and I thought it was super
Oh,
cool and
yeah.
unique. But like,
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, obviously he's probably not gonna put that on his album. But
Yeah.
I thought
Just imagine.
shout out to her for trying that. I thought it was dope.
And I mean, like going into it, she probably knew. Like if you're
Yeah.
gonna do a screamo cover, you're probably not gonna get picked, but it's still just like
He still posted it though,
yeah,
which I
so
think
she
is super
probably got
cool.
some exposure from that.
Yeah.
Cool. So everyone listening, you guys should go show support on that post. It'll be
Yes.
up either when you're listening to this or probably the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And the contest ends on the 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or wait, the 10th? What's the date? It was 10 days from when he announced it. I think
It's sometime this week.
he announces, I think, Thursday night.
Okay. So point being, you guys should definitely go like that post and go to Futuristic's page, only Futuristic on Instagram, and just show mad love.
Yeah. If he ends up posting it again, I got to get everybody to
Yeah,
tag me in
yeah.
the comments. But yeah.
Cool. Well, Matt, other than staying up for like 2 days in a row creating this verse, what have you been listening to?
I've been listening. Okay, so up until last night, because a bunch of new music came out last night, a lot of just like J. Cole and JID, kind of just getting back more into the hard rap music that I really like. But last night, a bunch of new albums came out. So I've been listening to, like, I don't know if you know who John Keith is.
Yeah.
I listened to his new album. Timothy Salazar finally dropped his project.
Oh.
I'll talk more about that later.
Yeah.
But who else dropped music? Black Bear dropped his album.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, Lecrae
Finally.
dropped his album.
Jeez.
Nas dropped his album. There's
Yeah.
a lot of new music. I've just only heard all those projects once, but like I really like what I've heard so far.
Yeah. Speaking of Timothy Salazar, I think we're gonna have him on the show
Yeah,
potentially
Hope
next
so.
week.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that. That's exciting. I didn't know he dropped it. I thought it like I saw him teasing it.
Yeah.
By the way, he has done a lot of really cool for like an independent small artist. He's done really creative marketing things for his
it's all
album.
like really unique and like I don't know, like some of it's super simple, but it's like it's super creative. You can tell.
Yeah, like he did this green screen video where he was on a green screen and he was wearing like a tank top and he was basically did this little skit about like, I don't know, if you like pre-order the album or something, you like get these different perks. And
Yeah,
like,
he made like cool packages he's gonna send out.
yeah, and it's just like that's a type of creativity that I feel like you need as a small artist. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of people that drop a song and they, put it on their story, say new song out, but it's like
No one cares.
like, well, that's just all the extent of
Yeah.
what people do a lot. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like you need that like ingenuity. Is that a word?
Yes, we'll say so.
No, wait, what's the word? It's not engine.
I
And
think
it's not ingenuity.
Oh, I know what you're
Ingenuity. What's the
I feel
word?
like it's a word they would say in like a car commercial or something. Like, I don't know.
I don't know, bro. There's a word like that. But my point is, I think you got to be creative like that.
Yeah, you have to care about that kind of stuff because there's a lot of people that really don't. They just care about, they just want people to listen to their music and that's all it is.
Yeah.
But
I've been listening to this guy named 2K Baby, which I don't know if you know him, but I found out about him a long time ago, but I never really checked out his music. But I actually saw on Twitter a video of him who I didn't realize it was the same guy at the time, but he remixed Drake's song Laugh Now, Cry Later, just like in his car, just
Okay.
like kind of freestyling over it sort of. But it kind of went viral on Twitter. And then he was like, yo, like I have like a bunch of other music. Go check it out. So I checked it out and he's actually really talented. But I think it was cool for me because it made me realize like, a lot of the artists I listen to, I find because of weird things like that.
yeah.
Whether it be like a challenge, like I found artists through challenges like what you're doing right now, or through Twitter clips or freestyles, or like someone else remixing their song or like whatever. And I just think that's how a lot of people can blow up nowadays, especially with like TikTok being so big and Twitter and Instagram. Like if you hop on TikTok and someone remixed, a Jack Harlow What's Poppin' remix and it's fire.
Yeah.
Like that's an easy way to blow up.
Definitely. Even from like an artist perspective, like through the challenge I did, I started messaging a lot of the other people that Futuristic posted, and like I'm pretty sure like me and Alcott have been talking. He's the guy that did the video in the pool, and like we're probably gonna do a song together now, which is super dope. And I don't know, you just like even from a creative's perspective, like there's so much that can happen through like social media that way.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know about, I mean, give me your thoughts on it, but for me, at least, as a creative person, I don't make music, but in the other things I create, there's times where if there's no guidelines at all, it's hard to kind of get started on something, on creating your own work. But if you have certain guidelines, so let's say there's a challenge, you got to use this beat, it's got to be 60 seconds or less.
Yeah.
Then it kind of gives you a way to like channel your creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you can kind of build off of that. So even if you don't win a challenge, or even if it's just for like a Twitter freestyle, if you write something for this certain freestyle, you can kind of use that momentum to like
100%.
get other things going outside of that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't know. Like, I felt like over the last few weeks, I was in a place where I just wasn't creating very much, and I wasn't able to get a lot of ideas down. Saw this challenge, and I was like, okay, I really need to get back into it. And then, like we were talking, like it took me a few days to really sit down and try to write something, and nothing was coming out. I had a few ideas for what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how I was going to get there. But then once I finally got it, now I feel like I'm kind of back in a creative mode where I can keep working on stuff.
Yeah. Before we started recording, you told me something interesting, that when you're trying to write, part of your process is you'll think of a certain line or something you want to say in some way in the song.
Yeah.
And you'll just write all these random thoughts down, like unconnected. And then you'll find a way to like tie them all back together.
Yeah, it doesn't always go like that. Sometimes I'll literally just like start with a line, and then that's the first line and keep it going. But like for this, I knew like something I didn't really have in my last challenge was I didn't have a lot of like one-liners that could stick with you. Like one like memorable line like that you could really remember after watching mine. So I'm like, I really need to step up, like have better punchlines and stuff.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I need to brainstorm some like creative like wordplay sentences and stuff like that I could work in. And they weren't even like written in a lyrical form. It was just like, oh, like I wanted to talk about Fresh Prince and like make some references to that.
Yeah.
And so then I started writing some like random little wordplay stuff that you'll hear once you listen to it. But
yeah.
And then I was like, okay, now I want to connect that back to talking about this part of my life, and it kind of just pieces itself together that way.
Yeah. That's awesome. Did you the specific Fresh Prince bar that you really enjoy? What do you set like? How does it go again? Or you have to say the whole thing.
It up. I'm not gonna say the whole thing,
okay.
But first I just wanted to make a Fresh Prince reference because I was wearing a Fresh Prince jersey last time.
Yeah.
And that was something that a lot of people like commented, like the kid in the Fresh Prince jersey. So I'm like, I want to like remind people that I'm like that
guy.
same kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, how can I do this without it being corny? And I wanted the reference to be like, so I was in the line, I'm talking about like, in a few years, this is my plan. I'll be counting those Fresh Prince, like Uncle Phil bills, which is like Uncle Phil is super rich on the show.
Yeah.
So I want to get money like him, and I want to fill up banks like Philip Banks.
Oh, bars.
Because that's Uncle Phil's full name, Philip Banks.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So like, just walk me through your thought process when you're creating. When you're first trying to write this and you like don't have any ideas going, did you have like Philip Banks, like Philip or
the
like
first
whatever?
thing I had was just Fresh Prints, like dollars that are freshly printed.
Printed, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, Fresh Prince, like that's kind of cool, but I need to do something deeper than that. And then I was like, Uncle Phil bills, like how can I, like I'm trying to say make money like him, but what's an even more creative way to say that? And then I was like, what's his real name on the show? Philip Banks. I'm like, oh, I bet you they wrote that like on purpose. Like, because he
like
kind of represents a character that's
yeah.
like in like the 1%. Like, I don't know if that was on 100% purpose, but like Philip Banks, like it just made sense.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I honestly think a lot of details in shows or movies or whatever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that stuff, a lot more of those things are intentional than the average viewer thinks.
For sure.
Like I guarantee so much thought went into like what to name these characters and why.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure there's times when they just give some random character a name,
right.
But it is also interesting how much there's so much you can learn and like get ideas from if you're stuck and you just start researching things on Google and go in these rabbit holes of like, for example, I don't know if you did this, but like let's say you type in Fresh Prince characters and then you go find the characters, and then you find their real name of the actors.
Yeah.
And then maybe you do some digging, and it's like, for me at least, there's so many times where if I don't know what I'm doing on like a podcast idea or a certain like music video idea, if you just like dive deep, there's a lot of like cool little hidden gems you can find, and things like what you just did.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know. Do you ever do that for other
sure.
things as well?
Yeah. If I like ever mention a name or something, even if it's like, I don't know, like an athlete that I know a lot about, I'll still look it up and then like hop on their Wikipedia page and just read through it, because then you might find something that you wouldn't have thought of, like even if you already knew it.
Yeah, like if you're, I don't know, let's say you want like a bar about Michael Jordan, and like it seems like every bar's probably already been said. If you look it up and you find something about like, oh, like his brother or his, I don't even know if he has a brother, but like, oh, this person's brother said this in an interview.
Yeah.
And it's like you can have some creative reference to that.
For sure. Yeah. I get so sick of in rap, like a very basic line that's just like, I ball like Jordan. Like it's literally that simple. And it's like, you couldn't have like, I don't know. That's like a lost art in like rap music, is like, actually like you can say something like Jordan, but in a way more creative way that just hasn't been said.
Yeah. Yeah, that's got to be tough. There's probably certain topics in hip hop or in any music where it's like they've been touched on so many times that they're almost, not that they're taboo, but it's like if you're going to do it,
there's like the do's and don'ts.
Like you got to do it right.
For sure. Like so when I was watching the new Double XL, they've dropped the like a lot of the single freestyles, like the acapella ones they do for like half of the artists right now. And after I just watched those, I went back and rewatched some of the older ones, and I rewatched JID's from 2018, his like solo freestyle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is so much better than like anything I've ever seen on Double XL. Like, I don't know. Basically, I think it's not that interesting when someone's telling a story about their past and they're like, oh yeah, I was involved in gangs and we bought guns. But like he has a way of saying, he's like, we don't let bygones be bygones, we buy guns. Like, yeah. It's like weird ways to say stuff like that. That's just, I don't know. Like
it's
a
literally just being creative.
Yeah.
That like, yeah. No, that's cool.
Being creative with words. But
yeah. All right. Well, I've also been listening to some Outkast.
Oh, really? You went back?
I did a little bit, not a lot. Mm-hmm. The only reason really, like, I've always known Outkast is like very influential in rap, but like, I just heard them here and there. But I was watching the Michael Jordan documentary, and in
Outkast?
In one of the clips, they just had an Outkast song in the background.
Okay, yeah.
For like one of the compilations or something. I actually didn't even know it was Outkast, but it turns out it was the song called Rosa Parks.
Yeah,
it's like pretty popular,
mm-hmm.
and I looked it up, and I don't know, like when I find one song by someone I like, even if I've always been skeptical of their other music, if I can find one I like, then that opens me up to be willing to listen to the other stuff.
For sure.
So I've mainly just been listening to like their most popular, like the top 5 popular songs.
Yeah.
I haven't really dived into like all the other albums.
Yeah.
But from what I've heard about them, isn't like one of the guys way more famous than the other one?
One of them is Andre 3000.
Okay,
and then the other guy's Big Boy. And like they're both respected as like 2 of the greatest rappers of all time, but like Andre 3000 has like way more, he's like considered in like the GOAT talks all the time, and Big Boy isn't really.
Is it kind of how like with the like Migos, like Takeoff isn't that popular?
But they're I think on a more extreme level than that. Well, actually I don't know, because I don't know, the Migos, it's kind of hard to compare because it was like Quavo was the most popular one at first, but then because of that, there was like an underdog mentality about Takeoff, so people started liking him. But
okay, so yeah, that's what I've been listening to.
Yeah, you like Earth Gang. I feel like if you like Earth Gang, you would definitely like Outkast. They're just kind of like the 90s version of that.
That's the thing, is like,
they're both
I don't
Atlanta.
know. I've always just been kind of like, it's always been hard for me to get into older rap because of I don't even know the term. Maybe you can help me find the term, but I just don't like the slower, like I don't know if it's called like, what is boom bap or like
that is boom bap. Yeah.
Is that like the slower type of rap?
That's like Nas is like boom bap.
Okay,
Biggie boom bap. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's always been harder for me to listen to. Just not because it's not good. It's just
not your style.
Yeah, I grew up listening to like faster, like different, like more melodic rap, I guess. But that's why Outkast, it didn't feel the same to me as listening to like
it's very
Biggie or,
unique.
like,
Yeah.
So
That's cool though.
do you want to do, maybe that could be an Outkast album, could be our next throwback album
If we
review.
do that, we should do Aquemini, which is like their biggest one.
Okay.
Rosa Parks is on that album.
Okay, yeah, I'm down. You want to do that?
Sure, yeah, we'll do
All
that.
right, so not next week, but the week after that.
Okay,
Matt and
we'll
I
talk
will
about
do
Aquemini.
Yeah, Aquemini, 1998. What year was the NAS one that we did?
94.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Moving on here, something totally random, totally unrelated to anything, but Chief Keef,
Oh yeah.
he turned 25. And how is he only 25? I saw that and I could not, I actually didn't believe
I
what
feel
my
like
phone
I've
was
known
telling
who
me.
he was since I was like 8.
Dude, I've known about Chief Keef for like it feels like my whole life. Like I felt like as soon as I ever listened to music, Chief Keef was famous,
Mm-hmm.
and he just turned 25 now, and I'm 22.
Yeah.
That and I did some research, and it does add up. Turns out he blew up when he was like 16, 17.
Okay.
I think he was 17 when he dropped like the Love Sosa or whatever it was that made him like
yeah.
blow up. But that's just, actually blew my mind because like the people who are really popular right now, a lot of the, like Lil Uzi's older than him.
Yeah.
And it's like
That's
when you
weird.
think of Lil Uzi, I think
He's
of
young.
like, yeah, I think of like a young SoundCloud rapper or whatever, but like he's older than Chief Keef.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know. It's just,
I don't know. It'll be kind of weird because, like, for example, like another young guy, like I'm pretty much the exact same age as Lil Pump. He's like a few months older than me. And so it's like, it's kind of weird to think that, like, I don't know, when I turn 30, like, he'll also be 30. Like, it's just a weird thought for me. But
what'll Lil Pump be doing when he's 30?
I hope he's still doing stuff. Like, but
There's certain artists that I feel like they just don't, my brain doesn't accept the fact that like certain people are like older now.
Yeah.
Like you told me you were born in 2000 the other day,
Yeah.
and I couldn't believe it. Which I mean, it makes sense. Like I was born in 1998, so it's really not. It's just
Yeah.
that's how time works. But like, I don't know, dude. Whenever I hear of like 2000 babies, I think they're like 14.
Well, that's like, I know some kids that are born in like 2005, and I'm like, I can remember 2005 like a little bit. That was like and they were born that year. That's weird to me.
Yeah. Do you like Lil Pump?
I do. I don't like ever drive around listening to his music, but I mean, I'm pretty sure he's a lot smarter than he appears to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a difference between like, because like him and Smoke Perp are kind of like bros, and they kind of came up together. But when I listen to someone like Smoke Perp, I find that annoying. When I listen to Lil Pump, I think he's like, I don't know. It seems more like, I feel like he has more of like an it factor that's just like, it's entertaining.
Yeah. Do you think it's just kind of a persona thing of him being this like crazy, outrageous?
I've heard people
kid?
say that he's actually really smart with his money, and he budgets out what he can spend on stupid stuff to appear as if he has no money and appear as if he's like spending
like
it all.
blowing it all.
Yeah. So if that's true, I think he might be around a lot longer than we're expecting. But like, then again, I don't know the last time his music made any sort of impact.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because he dropped an album, was it last year? His like what was it?
The college or
Something
Harvard
about college.
dropout.
Yeah. Did he actually get into Harvard?
No,
Or is
no, that's just a joke. But I mean, he's my age. Like, he blew up. He dropped out of high school, I think, his sophomore year or something like that.
But I mean, like, that album didn't really have any like staying power.
No, I remember like when it came out, and I thought I didn't like think it was a great album, but like I remember he had a feature from like Uzi. I thought it was like a cool project, but I just don't know if his music ever lasts longer than like a week, other than when he drops like a big song with Kanye.
Yeah.
But yeah. Which, to be fair though, I'm pretty sure that song is one of Kanye's biggest songs too.
Really?
So that's kind of like,
I love it
at
or
least
whatever?
if you go on like their like Apple Music page, it's like the most listened to as of recent.
Oh wow.
It's like it's up there, which is kind of impressive
Yeah.
to think about for him, that he has one of Kanye's biggest hits.
I wonder how Kanye feels about like.
He
there's
doesn't
no
like-
way Kanye likes that.
Well,
right?
I heard him say, he's like, think about it. Just a year ago, I was singing "You're Such a Effing Hoe," and he's like,
Yeah.
now I'm leading a church, and then now he's running for president. So I don't know what happened, but
yeah, Kanye's a little all over the place. But so another thing that you linked me this video
Yeah.
that I wanted to talk about because I thought it was kind of interesting. Do you want to explain what the video was?
Yeah, so there's this artist. He's also a independent label owner named Ruslan. He has a YouTube channel where he has a lot of videos to help like smaller artists and stuff like that. And he wanted to break down like the stuff that he knew about NF's like big blow up. And for people unfamiliar, NF in like 2012 was just like a super super underground Christian rapper. And he signed to this small label called Exist, which just had a few other small Christian rappers like probably wouldn't have heard of. But and then he had a deal for like a few albums, and then somehow got out of it. Signed to Capital Christian, not like it's the same company as Capital, like the big label, but
it's like
it's like their Christian
offset
department kind of. And they dropped his EP. The NF EP, and basically in the video he breaks down like how around that time they used like Facebook ads to really set his career off, and it was really interesting because they were kind of apparently it was like modeled off of Lecrae's success, and basically they like kind of were some of the first people to like use the algorithm of like people, if you're into, I think they said, if you're into Lecrae and you're into Eminem, you will definitely be into like NF. So they like use their ads set up that way, and they were dropping like hundreds of thousands of dollars on Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And that's like how his career jump started.
Yeah.
And like basically like Facebook ads were like what made his career like really take off. It was just really interesting to hear like an inside perspective on how someone actually blew up, because you don't get to see that kind of stuff very often.
Yeah. And because I think it's a lot more common for an artist to not just blow up out of the blue like in Arizona Zervis, where
it makes sense now.
Yeah, like a lot of artists, it's not just some luck where they just get like tens of millions of plays overnight. Like there's a lot of thought and money that's invested into getting people to blow up. And I thought it was cool because I've known about this, but I think I've learned a lot in the last year specifically about how specific Facebook marketing and Instagram marketing, like how great they can be at targeting the right demographic. Like you can really get specific with Facebook ads on the age, gender, demographic, like where they live, what type, like what interest they're into. And
right. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's cool because for artists now, like even respected artists do ads. I feel like there was, for a while, it seemed like there was this idea that if you had to promote your music, you're kind of like lesser.
A lot of people say stuff like, they also talked about this. That video was just a 13-minute clip of like a 2-hour live stream they did. But they also talked about how some people just think that guys like J. Cole, Kendrick, and even NF now don't do any sort of promotion. Yeah. Like that's just wrong.
Yeah.
Like, there's still like hundreds of thousands of dollars being poured into like ads and different type of promotion. It just looks different when you're a bigger artist.
Yeah, that's the thing. It comes off differently, and you might see a J. Cole ad, but it doesn't feel like it's an ad in the same sense as like if I see an ad for some rando kid who I think sucks.
Yeah.
And then I see a J. Cole ad, they feel different, but it's the same model really.
It's like J. Cole literally has had like 3 commercials on TV about his new shoe, and it's like people are like, "Oh yeah, but he doesn't market. He doesn't do any sort of marketing." Like, what?
Yeah. I just think I don't know. I'm glad because it seems like it's getting back to a point where people realize that like everyone has to market, and it's just like silly for you not to. And I feel like there was a time where it did seem like anyone who tried to promote or do paid advertising was like, oh, like you're not popping because you need to put ads out there, like whatever. But
so yeah, like Chance gets criticized all the time because he's known as like being like the big like independent artist, but they're like, oh, you're not independent because you have deals with like Sprite and like big random, like he'll be in commercials and stuff, but like he's still making all that money. He's just doing partnerships. Like that's different than being signed to a label where they're taking like pretty much all that you're making and you're barely making anything back. But
yeah. So I wanted to ask you, I actually wrote this down. Could you break it down from partly me, but also the people listening, like nowadays, what does it really mean to be independent? Because I'm so confused. Because you literally said earlier that there's like the guy's like the owner of like an independent
label.
Yeah. And it's like, what? There's like labels. There's people that are independent. Then there's independent labels, and it's like,
independent label just means you're not. Well, it just means you're not a major label, and there's like less than 10 like major labels. They're all like big names you've heard of, like Universal Capital, Interscope, like a bunch of the big ones, but Columbia, but so an independent label is just like that one's called King's Dream. Like Dreamville is an independent label, but same with like Top Dog, but they also like will have deals with major labels. Okay. So that's where it kind of gets confusing. Like Top Dog has a deal with like Interscope. So if you're on Top Dog, you're not necessarily, well, you kind of are an Interscope artist, but you're like in the Top Dog.
Okay. What about what's like Logic's label called?
That's an independent label. That's Bobby's World. But like, to be honest, I mean, I think he only has like 2 artists that he's ever promoted. Like there's a few other guys signed to it, but they're not like, they don't seem to be very serious about their music career.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so
I don't know.
Well, I guess so nowadays in 2020, what is the benefit of signing to a label? Like what exactly do they do for you other than have funding for promotions and music videos?
To be honest, in my opinion, it doesn't really make sense to sign to a major, because unless you're like that confident in yourself, because you're basically putting yourself on this team of like hundreds and hundreds of artists. Because a lot of people think like, oh, if I sign to Interscope, that's going to put me in like, oh, like think about Kendrick signed to Interscope. Like I'm going to get as much exposure as Kendrick, but it's like, you don't see the like there's hundreds of artists that are shelved and just their music will never come out because they'll get their album ready. But then, oh, this week Kendrick's dropping. This week another artist is dropping. This week another artist we have that you don't even know that they have is dropping. So they can't drop at the same time.
Wait, so their albums get shelved and never come out, or they just get delayed for a long time?
Delayed, sometimes never come out. But
what? So you can create a whole project, sign to a label, and then...
Well, that's like J. Cole. Like his first album took forever to come out, and like it almost never did.
Dang.
Because he didn't have a hit single, and then when he finally did, it came out.
So are there contracts to these labels? Are they for a certain number of like years, or are they based on albums?
Which is how you can get like stuck in terrible deals.
Well, that's stupid.
Exactly.
That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
Your album's done. They won't put it out, and you can't get out of your contract until you put out X number of albums.
Well, here's like, I feel it can be really beneficial to sign, but at the same time, if you like become a really big artist, then you're making all this like you're getting all these streams, but then they're taking a certain percentage from that. Because like a lot of people look at the streams to dollars, and they're like, oh, it doesn't really equal that much. It does when you're getting as many streams as like a J. Cole.
Yeah.
Like when you're like, they're getting like hundreds of thousands like a week, like way more than that. Like, like it does add up. But when your label is taking like 70% of that, it's not really worth it at that point.
Yeah. So when you're signed to a label, we'll talk about independent in a minute, but when you're signed to a label, what is the source of income? Is it, so when you sign,
it totally depends on the contract, like, because it's not always the same, but it's all like you're just getting percentages of certain stuff.
Of streams. So
it's like you could sign a deal where you're getting this percentage of the streams, this percentage of sales, this percentage of
when you say sales, what do you mean?
They would kind of, streams and sales would be included together, but like say you stream an album, like you go listen on Spotify, that's a stream, versus like if I buy it on iTunes, it's like,
do people still buy?
Surprisingly, yeah.
But why? What's the point?
To support, I don't know why, but people do.
Because it just seems like...
In physical copies. They still sell those in stores, but...
It just seems less cost efficient for someone to buy someone's project on iTunes when you could just pay like $8 a month or something.
I've done it for a few of like the small artists I listen to just support, but like, no, I don't see the point. Like, I'm not going to go buy a new like J. Cole album.
Yeah,
I'm stream it a bunch of times.
I'm curious what they're like, why it exists still.
But the thing is, when streaming became a thing, they had to figure out how to calculate the numbers to sales, so they could do like Billboard charting and stuff. But apparently if you buy an album, it equals like I this could be wrong, but I know it's somewhere in the thousands amount of streams just buying it.
Okay.
So like if I don't know, like if I had 100,000 streams, like if someone bought my album 100 times, it would like equal about that much. So it's like kind of interesting when you look at it like that.
Yeah. So now, okay, so they get a percentage of the income from the sales.
Yeah.
But then what are the other incentives to want to sign other than that? Because like no one would want the label to be taking a large chunk of their income.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you sign, there's obviously like a huge signing bonus, right?
Yeah.
And like how much, like is it
well,
like
the
in
signing
the
bonus
millions
is usually like a lot of the times it's like a check for your album. So it's like say you may, I don't know how much you would get, but say they give you 100,000. It's like you're supposed to put that towards your album or whatever your project is, because you're supposed to be able to pay them back. Like if you just go and spend that, like you have to be, if you don't make back that money, you then owe the label that money. It's like a loan.
Okay, so if they, so they're like loaning you like 100,000 to make your album.
But yeah.
And then.
But a lot of people
like
just spend it. But
so then I don't understand, like, because you hear these stories of like, oh, this kid like is like 18, just signed like with this huge label, making millions.
Caleb Mitchell just signed to what's it called? I'm blanking. Def Jam.
Oh, so
they're major.
But I mean, they don't just get like a shit ton of money?
Well,
because like what I'm just trying to understand, like as an artist, why you would want to sign. Like there's got to be some incentive.
Well, there is.
What
like
are the
100? If you can, it's like you're on a team, and if you can work your way up and you're playing, you're then able to have all these connections and work with these other big artists. Work with like you have connections to people that do certain music videos, certain marketing. Like there's definitely an incentive, but like you have to earn it. Nothing's guaranteed once you sign.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like, I would think it's smarter nowadays to go independent, because if you do get to that spot where you would have earned all those like rewards, you'll be making back 100% if you own your masters. You'll be making back like your money, and then you can use that however you want. So if you get to the point where you would be big in a label, if you can get to that level of big being independent, nowadays it would almost be just as, or if not better for you as an artist. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's definitely some benefits, because like Russ, for example, always talks about like being independent and like owning everything, but also when he dropped his first album, he signed to Columbia, I think, but it was like a really specific deal where like the album was completely done by him. It was just for like marketing purposes.
Oh, okay.
And then they don't own any of his catalog. And so basically like his idea was, my album's going to blow up and then everyone's going to go listen to my 11 other albums, and I own 100% of that. And I'm going to make 100% of those streams. I'm going to make a ton of money.
So when you say that he made it clear that Columbia doesn't own any of his records.
He owns his masters.
So wait, what exactly does that mean?
It just means like you like 100% own the rights to your song. You 100% own like the streams. Like there's
so they didn't take any percentage of his streams or anything.
No, they might have on that album, but like I think he has it back now. Okay. I don't. It's kind of confusing.
Now if an artist was to not clarify that, and then they create an album under this company, does that mean that like even when they're out of their contract, does that company still own?
Yeah, a lot of the times
the masters.
They could. Yeah, they still own. Like,
there's
some artists that don't own their catalog like at all.
What?
And so it's like it makes sense like if they don't care to go on a tour and get people to listen to their music, because they're not benefiting from it.
Damn. So you create like the best album of your career. It's fire.
Yeah.
And then you finally get to a point where you're like, all right, I want to get out. Or even if you don't get out, regardless, this company owns for the rest of time. We'll get like 70% of the sales.
Mm-hmm. It's so dumb.
What?
But
dude.
Yeah, and that's like people don't understand it when they get signed right away. And that's where it's like, if I were to ever have a big blow up and like had label offers, I don't know what I would do. I would probably, because I don't want to just shut it down and be like, oh, it's probably not right, because it could be a good deal. But like I think the move, if you're an artist that like blows up, is like you have to find some sort of like lawyer, some sort of manager that knows this kind of confusing label stuff.
And someone that has your best interest in mind, because it seems like a lot of people just get shafted.
Yeah, and it's like even big artists that are successful, it doesn't always work out for them. Like Tory Lanez has always had problems with his label.
Lil Wayne, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he like stuck with it in his contract for years? Isn't that why he didn't drop the Carter 5 for like quite a while?
And I think Drake is like, I don't know if he re-signed, but I remember after Scorpion, that was like the last thing he had to drop to like get out of his deal.
Who?
With Cash Money. But which is like another, like that's like Lil Wayne's label and Birdman's label, but I think it's also connected to Sony maybe. I don't know, one of the big major labels.
Wow, this is a whole lesson today.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really know that much about this kind of stuff. Like,
yeah, no, I just wanted...
Keezy knows way more about this stuff than I do. So like when he was talking about it, like I was learning last week. But yeah,
no, I wanted like the basics, just because this all started with learning about like how NF blew up from Facebook ads. Yeah. But like one of my favorite artists named Cal Scrooby, he's 100% independent, and he's like, I sometimes see, and Justin Stone, there'll be times when I get on Instagram and I see a Justin Stone ad, and I already follow him, but it's like, I don't know, that really seems like the way to go.
Yeah.
And maybe there's times, like you said, when it can be a good fit at a label, but like, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of these guys are doing really well for themselves with really they don't have an insane amount of followers, but they're making a pretty good living being independent. Like, some of these guys got like, I don't know, 60,000 followers, which isn't like insane by any means, but they make enough to live off of it.
Right. And like, it's interesting because I heard Futuristic say in like an interview like last year or something, he was talking about how, him and NF did a song together, and like he owns that song, and anytime NF drops an album and starts to blow up, like that song like rises up a bunch and like on his charts. And so it's like, it's kind of he didn't say this, but what I learned from like Ruslan talking about NF is that like NF probably doesn't own a high percentage of his music. I'm sure NF makes a ton of money. I'm sure he's doing really well, but like if he owned 100% of his like masters, he would be making a lot more. Yeah. And so like someone like Futuristic, who's a way smaller artist, but has that song with him, anytime NF starts to move up, like that song goes up, he owns 100% of it, or at least of his share of it. I don't know how they split it up, but
so there could be an artist that gets maybe 1/10 of the plays as a major artist, but could make the same amount of income.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, and what they were saying, the reason they were talking about the NF thing in the video is because he was basically saying you could do this and make what he made with like a small fraction of the money that was poured in. They're not saying you need to pour hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like they're saying you could make this with like $10,000 of like marketing, and like to make that much, like with $5,000 of marketing done right, you can make like you could get a lot of exposure.
Yeah. Well, and also you sent me a post a while ago of Russ. I feel like we talk about Russ every episode somehow, but he posted a screenshot of like his bank statements of like his income over certain months. And it went from like, I don't know, there was like, hardly any money, like couple $100 off music, couple hundred. And then it was like couple thousand. And then it was like 10,000, and then like 180,000. And like, it just goes exponentially.
Yeah.
And he said in his post, it was something about how like the reason he can make this much and be so successful is because he's been so adamant about like owning everything.
Right. Yeah. Because it's like, I don't know, like he's making that much money, and the guys that make that much money that are signed to a label, like they have to be like dropping number ones to get that kind of money.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't know, when I see this type of stuff in music, it's a good reminder for me to focus on your art and to keep control over what you want to create, because there's been a lot of times for me in like the video field where, like you're creating a project and someone wants to alter it, and then it gets worse, and it's worse, but like you had to do it because like they're the ones in control. And I can just see how, I don't know, I can see parallels between that and like music where
like label interferences.
Yeah, interference or just like, I don't know, there's maybe someone like I'm thinking in the video world or the podcast world, there's people who podcasts get really big and then a podcast network
They'll, like,
wants
sign-
to buy
yeah,
them basically.
okay.
But then as soon as you let that happen, I'm not saying it's the same thing you said. Like there are times when it could be a good fit,
Mm-hmm.
but as soon as you sign that paper, it's not really yours anymore. Like you
Right.
might still be the one creating it, but at the end of the day, someone else is pulling the strings.
That's funny. That made me think of how, like, when my brother had his big TikTok blow up, like, he got an offer from, like, Ridiculousness to like buy it, but there was, like, all this super confusing stuff in the contract about, like, you don't own this video, you can't post about it anymore, you can't make videos like this anymore. So he's like,
Whoa.
so I basically can't make content on social media, but I can get it on this show, which isn't going to do anything for me. It would just be kind of cool to say.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Whoa. So Ridiculousness they wanted to buy the whole account or just a specific video?
It was one of his YouTube videos.
Oh.
They wanted to, and I think they were gonna do the thing where they, like, chop it up and have, like, Rob Dyrdek like talk
react
over
to
it.
it?
Yeah, which it would have been funny, and I kind of wish he did it, but, like, at the same time he wouldn't have been able to, like, continue to make videos as Brian Mogg, like,
Yeah.
because they would be, like, buying that brand. Like, it's super weird.
Yeah, dude. That's what's so many of these companies. I feel like you never find companies that like have the best interest of everyone in mind.
No,
It's
no.
always just about the money and like, this is mine now.
Yeah.
This is not yours. You can't do anything associated with it. Like, why is there never just a company that's like,
Let's grow together.
let's just share this? But,
It's business.
yeah, it's business. Matt, have you ever listened to Nickelback?
No. I mean, I know some of their big songs, but no.
Yeah. Well, Nickelback is coming out with a new album.
Really? I'm
Yeah,
excited.
it's been a while. They teased like the little photo, or it literally just says Nickelback and with like this kind of cool artwork. But point being,
There's a new
Nickelback has been hated on social media for invalid reasons for years.
Okay.
Because they are a great band.
Okay.
And as soon as this album drops, Matt, we're gonna listen to it and we're
talk about
gonna
it.
hopefully enjoy it. Hopefully it doesn't suck. And then we're gonna talk about why we like Nickelback's album.
Sounds good.
Try and stop the hate.
I honestly can't name a Nickelback song, but, like, I'm a big
Photograph.
fan.
Photograph. I know that. Yeah,
Jake Paul has a
honestly,
song
I
called
don't. I'd have to look. There's so many bands where it's like, I know a lot of their music, but only if I hear it. Like if I hear it,
Right,
I'm like,
right.
oh, that's a Nickelback
I could
song.
definitely tell what Nickelback is, but, like, I don't know any of their albums.
Yeah, no. But all right. Well,
Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about about Nas. There's this, like, running joke ever since, so, like, in the early 2000s, late 90s, like, Jay-Z and Nas had beef, and they, like, had a huge back and forth. It's, like, one of the most famous, like, rap beefs of all time.
what did it stem from?
To be honest, I don't know what it stemmed from. I
Okay.
think it stemmed from Jay-Z saying he was, like, better than Biggie and better than, like, he was the best rapper. And then Nas was like, no, you're not. And then they, like, that slowly
Just went
turned
back
into,
and
like,
forth.
more personal stuff.
Okay.
And then, like, Nas is, like, one of his most famous songs, Ether, which is, like, a Jay-Z diss song. But
Yeah.
over the last 10 years or so, maybe more than that, since the early 2000s. Yeah, since 2001, every time Nas has announced, like, a project, Jay-Z will have a surprise project either that same day or the day after.
What?
So in 2001, Nas dropped Stillmatic, and then Jay-Z dropped his Unplugged album same day. And then 2004, Nas dropped Streets Disciples, and then Jay-Z dropped Collision Course, and then
Okay.
Nas's Greatest Hits album came out November 6th, 2007. American Gangster came out that same day. And then
Bro.
a couple of years ago, Nasir, which is the one with the Kanye production.
Yeah.
And then right after that, Everything Is Love, which isn't that the one with Beyonce? It's like their collab project.
I'll look it up right now so we can know for sure.
They dropped the day after, and I remember noticing that because that's when I was, like, kind of getting into Nas.
Yeah. Sorry for the feedback there, guys. Whenever we pull out our phones, there's like it gets a little staticky sometimes, but
yeah. So then
damn, so every single album,
not every
Jay-Z
single,
has
but
done
most
that
a
just
lot
to-
of them, yeah.
just to spite him.
Yeah, and obviously, like, Jay-Z's more relevant nowadays. So whenever usually if they drop an album at the same time, like, the Jay-Z one will do better. And then everyone knew that Nas had his album coming up, and there was all these jokes like, what's Jay-Z gonna do? And then and then also last year Nas dropped his Lost tapes, and then the same day that Beyonce and Jay-Z dropped the Lion King soundtrack or project or whatever it was. But
what was the other one you wanted me to look at?
Everything Is Love. Yeah, that's the album they dropped is The Carters.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Okay.
But and then so Nas's new album dropped last night when we were recording this, and everyone's like, "What's Jay-Z gonna do? He doesn't have anything." And then him and Pharrell dropped a single.
But just a single though.
But yeah, but still, it's like he's been dropping the same day every.
That
every time.
is so funny.
Yeah,
because
but they're cool now. They don't like beef anymore.
Okay,
but like he still does it, which is hilarious.
So this started back when?
2001.
Bro, he's been doing this for 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
That is hilarious. I wonder if he has another album done. Like,
well, he probably has stuff like ready that he's just like, all right, like if Nas drops, like I'm dropping too.
Yeah. So do you think at this point it's kind of just like a running joke?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I think it's for stuff like this where it gets people talking about it. But
yeah,
it's just funny.
Have you listened to any of the Nas's new project?
Yeah, I listened to it this morning. I liked it. I think it was like 100% produced by Hit Boy, but I've only heard it once. I need to keep listening to like form an opinion, but I liked how it was sounding.
Okay. One thing I wanted to ask you that I forgot at the beginning. You're talking about how your Fresh Prince line, or in the challenge, people knew you like, oh, the guy in the Fresh Prince jersey.
Yeah.
And now you have a line about Fresh Prince in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to have a certain thing that you're just kind of known for? Not necessarily like, oh, the guy who wears the Fresh Prince jersey every day, but like, because I feel like that gets kind of kind of cringy. Even with Oliver Tree, like I love him, but I'm like, dude, just wear something else, bro. You wear the same outfit every day. But do you want to have like, oh, he references Fresh Prince in like a bunch of his different songs or something, or no?
I mean, I don't want to be known as like the something guy because like I feel like that I don't know, it gets really like gimmicky.
Yeah. Or
like I don't want to have like, because if you think of like Chance the Rapper, you think like, oh, he's the guy that always talks about I love my wife, and then like Logic, oh, I'm biracial. Like I don't want like that kind of thing.
But everyone has something like that. You know?
I do want to. I think it's important to have a certain like look or like aesthetic or just some sort of thing that can like set you apart. Like there's a certain level when it becomes like a gimmick, but like for me, when I think of Chance, I think of like his hat. I think of like when he used to wear like overall, like his kind of look he has.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have something like that. And so like maybe, I don't know, something like I could be like that I make references to like 90s stuff or like older stuff, but I don't know if that specifically is what I want to be. But I mean, I have made a lot of Fresh Prince references recently, like with the crazy cover too, but
but
okay, I don't know if I necessarily want to be the Fresh Prince, like, but one of my friend's dads was telling me, he's like, oh, you could be like the new age Will Smith, and I'm like, I don't know if I could go that far, but like sure, that's cool.
mean, hey, that'd be pretty sick. But yeah, no, that's cool. I was just so you're still trying to figure out what your little thing is. Okay, I like it. Cool. Well, before we wrap it up, let's talk about the underground drop of the week.
Yes, sir.
So what do you got?
Well, I got two. Timothy Salazar finally dropped his project. Super dope. Listened through it last night and this morning.
What's it called?
It's called Quarantine Beach.
Okay.
It's 7 songs, but one of them's like an intro track. But and then my second one is John Keith dropped his project Anti-Hero. I was listening through it this morning. I just think it's a really cool like all around project. I think you should definitely check it out if you haven't listened.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like people, when they hear, oh, this is a underground artist or like a not as popular artist, everyone's a little more skeptical to go check it out. But I can confidently say John Keith is super, super talented. Like I see him being pretty big within a couple years from now. So
definitely. Yeah. He's got his own unique style too.
Yeah. So definitely check that out. And then also next week, we should potentially have Timothy Salazar on the show. So
hopefully,
if you guys are listening to this, you should go check out the album. So then next week you can be like, oh my God, I know that guy. I listened to his album.
Yeah, we can break it down for you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you all so much for listening. This was fun. I'm excited for next week. Also, if you guys have any music artists that you know of, whether they're local to Seattle or not, even if they live somewhere else, just comment or message us on Instagram at NAS Podcast, NAS Podcast, because we're trying to find different people. Obviously, it's going to be hard with the quarantine still, but like once things are kind of back to normal, we want to get a bigger variety of people on the show. So if you have any recommendations, let us know.
Yeah, for sure.
But Matt, where can they follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @theMattMogg. That's the MATTMOGG.
Yep. You guys can follow me at Hey Narwhal on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. There's new episodes of this show every single Monday. And then we also have a second podcast called Peak to Middle School, which is a comedy show. It's hosted by me and my buddy Kyle. Matt's on a few episodes. So if you guys want to check that out, there is 167 episodes of it.
Listen to all of them.
It's been going for a while. So I highly recommend you guys go check that out. That'll be linked in the description. And if you're on one of the audio streaming platforms, 2 things. First, leave a review on the Apple Podcast app. Rate us 5 stars and write something nice. It helps us out a lot, especially as a small show. We need those to grow. And we have a video version on YouTube. So if you guys want to watch some YouTube videos, go subscribe.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, thank you all so much, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.